Tonight we want to share something of the life of this little Italian woman who lived in the 16th century. This is a picture of St. Angela. When she was young, Angela was called Suor Angela, Sister Angela, although she was not a nun. When she was older, she was called La Madre, the mother, although she was not a mother. How did she come to know God? What inspired her to create a new form of consecrated life in the world? What does her life say to our lives today? Angela was born in Desenzano in northern Italy, a small town situated on a beautiful lake. She was the daughter of Giovanni Merici. Giovanni was a small farmer and a landowner. Her mother was Caterina Biancosi, from a wealthier family from Salo. It seems as if the family was of comfortable means. Both Desenzano and Salo are located on Lake Garda and are places you would love to visit. In Angela's time, the lake would have been a small port. Now it's a tourist area. St. Angela's childhood was probably typical for a girl of her time from this level of society. She learned to read, but she could not write. She had no formal education. She mentions that her father read to the family from the lives of the saints. One of the most popular books at that time was The Golden Legend, a book that gave inspiring stories about the saints. One of the saints whose story is told in this book is Saint Ursula. Remember that printing was not as yet that common, so having and sharing books was a special treat. The most significant event of Angela's childhood was the death of her sister when Angela was a young teen. This is a picture of Angela's home. It is outside of the town where the family lived on a farm. Angela would have spent a happy childhood here, sharing in the usual tasks of family life, including farm work, laundry, cooking, and carrying water. We don't know a lot about her siblings, but we do know that she had at least one sister and two brothers. This is the room where Angela slept. It is not restored as it would have been in her childhood, but the mat tells us how she chose not to sleep in the bed throughout her life as a form of penance. Very early in her life, Angela was serious about her relationship with God. She spent long periods of time in prayer and believed in fasting as a path to a holy life. This early, happy life came to a sudden end with the death of her sister when Angela was a young teen, and the death of her parents not long after. Following these tragic events, Angela went to Salo to live with her mother's relatives. What were the times like when Angela was growing up? It was the period of the Renaissance, that time of renewal of learning and excitement about the new ideas and new art. There are those, however, who ask, was there a Renaissance for women? Opportunities for women were still lacking in this age of renewal. This is also the beginning of the Reformation. Remember, Angela will found the Company of St. Ursula in 1535. Martin Luther, nailed his thesis to the door in Wittenberg in 1517. As Luther had indicated, there was a tremendous need for church reform at this time. Priests were not educated, Women were forced into convents when a suitable marriage was not available. Bishops didn't even visit their dioceses. Family life in general was in turmoil in northern Italy, as various city-states warred with one another. Choices for women were extremely limited. Marriages were arranged for family benefit. Convents were unavailable if one lacked a dowry, and prostitution was rampant. The most significant spiritual events of Angela's youth were two events that we will call her visions. They are usually described as one event, but recent studies suggest that she had two visions. The descriptions are told like this. Angela, longing to know that the soul of her sister was safe in eternal happiness, prayed to God daily for certainty. At harvest time out in the fields, when her companions went to have their meal, Angela usually withdrew to pray. One day, while she was in ecstasy, she saw the heavens open and a glorious procession of angels and virgins advancing two by two. The young virgins were singing to the sound of music made by the angels. The song was so deeply impressed in her memory that afterwards she was able to sing it. While the procession passed before her, the young girl recognized one of the virgins as her beloved sister. These slides are a little out of order, so I'm going to fast forward through a few of them. Her sister stood still and the whole procession with her. Then, looking into the future, she told Angela that God wanted to make use of her to found a company of consecrated virgins. And there is the vision, and there is her sister. And this is just a relief of the vision. Various testimonies throughout her life confirm that Angela talked about this experience of seeing that her sister had achieved salvation. Recent research suggests that the first vision took place nearer her home in Desenzano and before her move to Salo. The second vision took place as a young adult when she had returned to Desenzano. This is a picture of the site of the vision. It has been considered to be a holy place in the memory of the people of that region for over 400 years. The site now holds a retreat house where visitors can stay. What could it have meant to Angela to have come to believe that she would form a company of virgins? Remember, she was not well educated, nor was she wealthy. It would seem that, like Mary, she would ponder the meaning in her heart for many, many years. Angela returned to Desenzano as a young adult. While she was in Salo, she had joined the Third Order of St. Francis. In 1516, a year before Martin Luther, when she was about 42 years old, Angela was asked by her Franciscan superiors to move to Brescia to offer comfort to a woman who had been recently widowed. This is a picture of the Duomo, or the cathedral, in Brescia. It was across the square from this church that many years later, almost 17 or 18 years later, Angela would meet with the young women with whom she would form the company. For the next 23 years, she lived in Brescia and became well known for her holiness throughout the region. What did she do? She lived a life of holiness and prayer. She fasted. She called others to holiness. She visited and comforted people. Men and women came to her for advice. Although she did not have an official church apostolate, I would say she mostly was involved in what today we would call counseling, spiritual Church of St. Afra was located here. They changed the name from St. Afra to the Church of St. Angela. Angela lived in 2 rooms attached to the church during the last years of her life. It was at this site that the first women signed the book of the company. It was here that Angela was buried. Let me just go back and show this. This is the altar in the church, and her body is entombed up in the front of the church. It is in a glass case. You can see it when you visit. This is an interesting rendering of St. Angela. The artist studied the painting of her that was done at the time of her death and tried to take the person back in time. We know that Angela actually dressed in brown, taking the habit of the Franciscans. Why did she join the Third Order? Because it provided some support to her decision not to marry, and it offered the opportunity to receive Holy Communion more frequently. One of the very unusual things about Angela's life was her many pilgrimages. Imagine travel in those days. It was both difficult and dangerous. Yet, Angela visited the Holy Land, Rome, Venice, Verona, and other places in Italy. When she was in Venice, the leader of that city asked her to remain and lead some of the charitable works there. But she refused, and she returned to Brescia. When she went to Rome, she met with Pope Clement VII, who also asked her to remain and work in Rome. She left as soon as she could, so she would not be pressured to acquiesce to the Pope's request. In 1530, back in Brescia, Angela moved to the Church of St. Afra and began to finally design the work to which she had been called. She began the process of forming a new form of life in the church, which she named the Company of St. Ursula. And again, I remind you that St. Ursula was a very popular saint at the time. Her father had probably read stories about St. Ursula from that book of legend, and that's how she chose the name Ursula. This is a painting of St. Ursula as done by the Italian artist Merici. It is located in the Church of St. Clement. Angela certainly saw the painting. He may have been inspired by her devotion to paint it. Angela designed an unusual organization. It provided a way for women to seek holiness, remain unmarried, stay living in their own homes, and remain in the world doing good works. The first virgins were formed by Angela in the house of Isabella Prada, and on November 25th, 1535, the feast of St. Catherine of Alexandria, the women came together to sign the book of the company. This is another picture of her body entombed above the altar. The structure of the company provided for 4 leaders to serve as guides for the young virgins, 4 wealthy widows who would share their wisdom and provide financial support, and 4 men to carry out necessary business and legal matters. On January 27, 1540, St. Angela died. This is less than 5 years after she completed her work. St. Angela's legacy continues today. In Desenzano, a new parish has been named in her honor. We can certainly add in Youngstown, a new parish has been named in her honor. This is another picture, well, that's a picture of the bottom. This is Angela the Pilgrim. In 1996, the Ursuline sisters had a tremendous opportunity to make a pilgrimage to Brescia and Desenzano, the places where Angela lived. And this is all of us who went. I think there were 45 of us or so who went on this pilgrimage, so we posed in front of this picture. Another picture. Close up. If you will look close, I'm sure you will see Sister Mary Lee in there somewhere, Sister Kathleen somewhere, me somewhere. We were all there. This is a totem that honors the history of the Ursulines. This is an African statue of St. Angela. Ursuline sisters are all over the world. This is a statue in Thailand. And this is one in Australia. St. Ursula, our patroness. And the story of St. Ursula is a story in itself, which maybe at some later point someone could share the little bit that we know about St. Ursula, because she lived hundreds of years before St. Angela. And that is the story of St. Angela.